I was born in Central Florida in the year of our Lord 1990. Having grown up in the 90s, I got to witness and be a part of a really crazy shift in modern America. I spent countless afternoons playing outside, crafting elaborate games and storied adventures with my best friend Caleb. We spent an equal measure of that inside, huddled in front of a Sanyo TV, playing a myriad of NES and SNES games that our parents had rented, bought, or found at the countless yard sales that always seemed to be just around the block on a Saturday morning. There was also a revolution in personal computers happening. I can remember it like it was yesterday. The old Packard Bell Windows 95 PC my mom had saved up for, and the distinct sound of a dial-up connection. There was the complaining about using up the phone line, and the eventual cave-in to have a second one put in, just for the internet use. Images loaded on web pages, not as a single unit, but line by line, in what would be an excruciating amount of time today. Things were so much slower back then, and I miss those days. I thought I'd honor it by doing a bit of a dive into the decade, look at some significant events, and play some games. Buckle up, folks, it's the Forest 90s cast. On February 12, 1990, Super Mario Bros. 3 was released in the US, an inauspicious start to the year I was born, and just the day before we saw the release of Nelson Mandela from prison, marking what's probably the biggest false collective memory in history. Or maybe it was the first globally noted split between parallel realities. It's hard to say. One thing is certain though, Mario 3 was an absolutely delightful game. The backdrop and overall aesthetic made it appear to be one great theater production, and there was always something so whimsical about that. This game is one of the first that I can remember playing. As far back as my smooth brain memory will take me, my brother Justin and I were playing the NES Mario trilogy. I can remember with perfect clarity Justin standing bolt upright in front of the TV, controller in hand. He was bouncing up and down with increasing rapidity, his face contorted into an intense overbite as Bowser's tanks rolled by. We didn't have the words for it at the time, but my brother and I were very autistic. I reached out to him for a clip of recreating the scene, but sadly, he declined. So this right here, Justin.
Yes.
I'm assuming that you feel the same way, but I don't know, maybe you don't. But I remember the first time, or at least the first time I can distinctly remember you getting to this part. And it's what I mentioned earlier about you jumping up and down. You were really, really stoked about it. And
yeah, this is a really stressful level.
Oh, so stressful. Did you see I lost everything right there?
Yes.
I had a pee. And it's really funny about that is because I was like, oh, you know what? I probably shouldn't have this pee. You know, there's no drama to me running around and just flying over the whole level.
Right.
And,
you know, because that's how you're supposed to beat it. Is just, you know, avoid everything.
Right.
But for sake of content.
Right. I was like, well, no, I shouldn't do that. But then you get to like this stuff and it's like, oh man, like look at that.
I really messed up. Yeah.
Like my heart is racing watching this. And you know, I played through all of this, and it's like, if you notice, we're down to 29 lives from the 41 that we started with.
Yeah, you're pretty miserable at this. What happened?
I fell apart, or we're at 28 now. I died again. I died a lot through World 8. It was so hard. I forgot how hard it was, and it was to the point where, you know, I lost over 10 lives, and I lost all of my items. So when I came back in here, it's just Lil Mario trying to survive this nonsense. And I couldn't remember how to beat him, and then it was like, oh yeah, right, I gotta get him to break the blocks. But I think, because you reached the end of this game long before I ever did. You beat this way before I beat it.
Yeah, I probably beat this before anyone else in our family.
100%. and it just, like, I remember you getting to it and just thinking, like, this is it. This is the pinnacle. This is gaming's never gonna be better than this. And thank God it is.
Right. Not to say that this isn't good, but you know.
It's, you know, it made me very angry recording it. I'm gonna be honest with you. And this was your suggestion. You're like, well, you should go to the end. You should go to World 8. I'm like, okay, I will take it to World 8. And 1 through 7 was a breeze. Like I said, you know, I mean, I got up to 41 lives there and a full set of everything, and I lost it all.
I mean, real quick, did you go through every world?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
If it's not for the video, why didn't you just do the world skips? Did you forget about the whistle?
I never got a whistle. They didn't give me one single whistle the whole game.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, it was a rough run.
This is why you didn't beat the game right away. Like because you're trash and you didn't get the whistle.
Yes. Well, but you know what though? I also probably would have continued out because if I didn't come in with 41 lives, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
I think not skipping was the right move because I could build up a pool there. But this is great. They got the you know, the curtain drops, and it's the end. And also, how cool was it when you beat a game in the, you know, the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, you know, pre-YouTube, all of that. How great was it? You got the end credits. It's like now it's when I get the credits, it's like, oh, it's inconvenient. All I want to do is hit A or hit B to skip. But it's like you sat through this because it's like, how cool is that?
You played this for a couple hours. You didn't have a save file. You just had to do it in one go. And if you messed up, too bad.
That's it. And here it is. That's the end. Well, I appreciate you jumping in with me, Justin.
Yeah, man.
All right. See you.
Later.
But I also remember my grandmother being scary good at Dr. Mario, which also released the year I was born. Despite having no prior gaming experience, games like Tetris and Dr. Mario came so easily to her, and she reached levels Justin and I could only dream to touch. And then, closing out the year was a game that captured so much of my free time as a kid. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game for the NES. Yes, the title was the arcade game. I've been a huge Turtles fan for as far back as I can remember. From the cartoon, to the action figures, to the comics, to the games, and even the wonderfully terrible live action stuff. It has to make the highlight reel of any 90s experience for me. The plot lines were wacky and sometimes wildly inappropriate for a small child. I can remember picking up a comic from some TMNT series at the local Publix where they confronted Hitler and he killed himself. What kind of insane story had they been writing? We never got consistent issues, so to this day, I have no idea what that was even about. All I ever knew was that when you feel like you're falling, you can count on them. That Pizza Hut concert special they put on was not only a musical masterpiece, but who else could get away with bestiality comments on Oprah of all places?
I mean, like, is there anything, like, romantic or anything?
Whoa, careful, not us.
No, I mean, I'm sure everyone, the more you get to know the turtles, the more attractive they become, but...
Good answer. Hey, geez,
You're talking about me.
Oprah, I've been trying to talk her into an interspecies relationships for months now.
Whoa, Raph, chill, man.
And she won't do it,
She
huh?
can't hold her breath.
No, she
I'm
can't
a
do it.
reporter.
The biggest problem is she can't hold her breath long enough, you know?
I owned all 3 Turtles games on the NES, but I really spent the most time on the arcade game. Manhattan Project was a nice shakeup, but it's nowhere near as good to me, and the first game was admittedly too hard. If you've seen any of my videos playing games, that should be quite obvious. I want to touch on one more 1990 game before we move on to 91. It's one that tantalized my imagination for years, and I was never even allowed to play it. My brother got a hold of this gem at a yard sale, and I never knew if he just thought it looked cool or if he was aware of what he had at the time. I spent hours watching him play through this amazing adventure, but it was his, and I was not to touch it. The first Final Fantasy has a great development backstory, and one known by a lot of game enthusiasts. According to Japanese composer Nobuo Uematsu, Squaresoft was going bankrupt, and the developers believed this would be the last game they would make for the company, thus Final Fantasy. There's a bit of pushback on the validity of this claim, but either way, doesn't it make for an incredible story? On the brink of collapse, one game changes the whole company's direction. 4 heroes of light protect their world, and using powers from crystals also save the game developer. Regardless of the truth, it was the first JRPG I had ever seen, and the game genre became my favorite for years after. If you stuck it out this far, I'll be coming back for each year up to 1999. The road ahead of us is long, but isn't it just so beautiful? Take care, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.